Hey everyone, it's Maria from Beat 'em Up Wrestling. I'm actually solo this time. I kicked out my husband to do an interview with a social media friend that I came to know a couple of months back. Are you from Somerset, Manitoba?
Yeah, let's say Somerset, yeah.
Somerset, all right. He is a social media superstar, the current PCW Canadian champion, Mr.
That's right.
Walker himself, man. Nice to see you
Hey,
come, and thank you for taking your time out of your day to do this with me.
no problem. This is going to be a lot of fun, I think. Let's do it.
All right. So basically, I know this was like really short notice. You're totally cool to do this on the fly. So yeah, I know a little bit about you. I'm not sure if our viewers do because I'm in the US, I'm in Chicago, and you're in Canada. So just give us a little bit about yourself, how long you've been wrestling, your current reign as the champion over there, and we can go from there.
Okay. So I joined PCW. I think most people who've been able to find me is just sort of like this little tidbit off Kenny Omega's life story. That's where he kind of became prominent in the Canadian wrestling scene, was PCW. So I joined in late 2006, I believe, maybe 7. Time flies, but I just wanted to get into the pro wrestling scene, and there was no training available. So I started out as a referee and a ring crew guy, and then just eventually worked up to becoming a manager and began my in-ring career in 2011. Just sort of naturally flowed into that. And since then, I've just been working my butt off, trying to make a name for myself. I've developed this whole persona as the social media superstar, which has now evolved into the glitch in the system.
Yes.
And just because I'm one of those guys, I wasn't trained, per se. I wasn't coming in with an athletic background. I was a very introverted kid. I wasn't really meant to succeed, but just through my hard work and dedication, I really found my way in. And that's sort of the secret meaning behind being the glitch in the system. Of course, the success has come my way. I've managed to capture the Canadian Championship in PCW on 4 separate occasions, which is a record. And right now, I believe it's like 403 days as champion. Thank you, quarantine. And I'm actually trying to catch up to one of Kenny Omega's records as the longest reigning champion as far as cumulative days are concerned, and that's very exciting.
That's totally awesome. Yeah, like I totally understand. Kind of like you're thrown into something, but you love it, and technically you're like breaking the mold. When you were saying that, like people didn't see you or whatever as a wrestler, but like now your charisma, you got this. You told me.
I appreciate that.
I love everything about it. Was there something besides wrestling that you were trying to do before you decided to really go nosedive and get into it?
Growing up, you'd always hear, whether it's documentaries or guys talking in interviews and stuff about needing a backup plan to wrestling. And as much as I tried different things, there really wasn't a backup plan. I remember in high school, in my grade 12 class, there was an English exam, and half of the exam's marks was dedicated to an essay. And I actually wrote out like a TV episode pilot. That's just what I went with as far as the format is concerned. And when the results came back, it was 100%, which I wasn't the top student in anything. So that blew me away. And that's like, you know what, maybe I should pursue screenwriting potentially. So I took film studies in post-grad with the goal of hopefully getting a few films under my belt and trying to apply it as a writer for WWE. Like that was how narrow-minded I was as far as the future was. Like, I'm getting to WWE one way or another, and that's the way I'm going to pursue it right now. But along the way at university, I found a flyer on the ground for a local show. It had Samoa Joe and AJ Styles coming to town. I checked it out. It was PCW, and I was home as soon as I got there,
That's awesome. Kind of screenwriting kind of goes into your vlogs and your YouTube video. You kind of had to have a direction and things like that. For
sure.
And you definitely know how to capture, especially the Janela bit we're going to talk about in a little bit. But like I could see your ideas of screenwriting and things like that, because some people, as you know, have a little bit of struggling when it comes to mic skills or, defining their character like that. But you definitely have come into your character, I would say. But yeah, that's so with everything that's going on in the world, I know we had to bring up a little bit of a downer. How has the virus affected you personally? Have you heard anything about shows coming back?
it's tough because obviously I wanted to get in the ring. I wanted this year to be where I've had the most matches in my career, and that's just something that got put to an immediate halt. I did have an opportunity on WrestleMania weekend to go down south to Florida and be on internet pay-per-view, and I was super stoked for that. But of course, that didn't happen either. Hopefully, another opportunity like that comes up. As far as shows coming back, I know there was a show last night in Winnipeg, a non-PCW show, and I think it was a little bit too soon. And I think people aren't quite ready for that. Our numbers are great around here. I think there's like 5 total active cases in the entire province.
That's good.
Yeah, so like I think there's only been 300 total, and like mostly everyone's recovered from it. But still, once you start opening up borders, or all of a sudden, you're getting more people together, there is a little bit more panic. So I think we're holding off, and we're biting our tongues, and hopefully come the fall, we'll be able to come back with a big bang.
Yeah, definitely. I was looking at New Japan Pro Wrestling. I like how they're trying to put safety, procedures and everything like that, but it's still scary. It's still scary.
Definitely.
Yeah. You don't want to, like the one thing I was telling everybody, what, the other promotions is like, everybody's so like, whatever there's a show, I'm going to it. I'm like, people haven't gotten sick, but if they open to the people and they get sick, you can't blame anybody else but the fans, and I would be heartbroken if somebody like you or somebody else got, sick because they decided to open to the fans and things like that.
Right. And the way the media works right now too, like, would pro wrestling in general, or at least indie wrestling, get blamed for that and really get put on the back burner as far as when we're allowed to return? There's a lot to consider when doing these things, and to make sure that you're as safe as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely agree with that. Yeah. Unfortunately, it's like, we just have to wait it out just a little bit more.
Yes.
So your social media superstar image, was that something you came up with? Did it just happen? Was it because of the whole internet's taking over our lives, social media is kind of taking over our lives? How did you kind of come across that persona?
Okay. It's funny. A little bit on the side, I guess I am somewhat of a graphic designer. I design all my t-shirts and all that stuff. But I was always challenging myself to learn more, and I stumbled upon this character, and this was very early, and Facebook was still early, and Twitter might have just been like early infancy. But there was a speaker, and he's super famous now, Gary Vaynerchuk. You might have heard of him, I'm not sure, but like he's everywhere on social media. And he just sold me on social media and the potential it has in the world to like reach a global audience rather than just focusing on the narrow. And that really inspired me as far as my personal ambitions. And that's just how the social media superstar kind of took off. Was I took a little bit of that with a little bit of the Kardashian socialite, scene, and I molded that into like this manager character of mine. And then like it's just evolved over time.
I love the video you did when you were teasing about the person attacking in WWE, and I was like, God, that was perfect. That was so. I was like, wait, how the heck did he do that quick? And I maybe had to go back and look, and I'm just like, I shook my head at you. You made me shake my head. I was like, that was good.
Thank you.
But no, your setup is really clean. I love your introduction, your intro to your videos. A lot of people not trying to like tell people not just to jump into social media, but there's a lot of setup. As being a librarian, like we had to learn how to go digital during this time, and there's a lot of things we had to learn on the curve, and now we're trying to go back and polish things up. But your presentation is great. Like, yeah, definitely. It's one of the most professional, like indie presentations I've seen out there on YouTube. I love it. Good stuff.
That means a lot to me, because like I'm my worst critic, so anything I watch of mine I immediately think is garbage. But hearing that, and I mean the views are there and the subscribers, which is amazing and humbling too. It's there, so I mean obviously I'm doing something right. But it's awesome hearing that every now and then.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's an introvert thing. Always got to be so hard on ourselves.
100%, yes. But that a lot of my presentation actually comes from my history too. Before indie wrestling, I used to backyard wrestle with my friends, and they weren't even wrestling fans, but I would just pool them all together, and we'd go and we'd wrestle in my basement every single weekend. I wrote the matches, I wrote the scripts, the promos, everything. And then I would obsess. I would spend every waking hour and even like half in my sleep editing these things down and creating intros. And it was just a learning process over the years, and it's been able to translate well into my indie wrestling stuff.
Do they like wrestling now, those friends?
Not at all. No, I was the only one.
How? You basically conned them into beating them up every so often.
Right, right. Yeah, no, maybe when I'm on TV, they're gonna pretend to like it. I don't know if I ever get to that point. Who
You're like,
knows?
no, not you, not you.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
didn't like it. Um, so yeah, one of the coolest things I saw you do was a fight with Joey Janela's t-shirt. And I know that came right before everything the world decided to take a spin on its head. You were trying to get into the spring break thing that he has, right? The show he has.
Right.
So how did it evolve to that? Because one minute I saw you trying to like make your case, and I'm just like, retweeting with stuff with you and liking it. And then all of a sudden I was like, he's gonna make this video. And the video was good. You shot different angles. It was clean. It was entertaining. The part in the
Thanks.
ladder when the shirt came down, I'm like, why does it look like it's actually attacking you?
That was tricky. But yeah, so I've been following these spring break events that have been happening of Janela's, and they were amazing. Like that's the core of what I love about pro wrestling. It's just a mix of everything, a wild audience,
Yeah.
and just some of the wackiest stuff you've ever seen. After the third one, I said I need to get on the next one, and that's a goal. So every week since the third spring break show, I would post a video of something crazy I'd done in the ring to try to, and I would tag Janela Reid in it. And some guys thought it was like this desperate cry for attention or something like that. But I was like, you know what? This is so outside of the box, and my commitment to it. Hopefully, somebody will pay attention, and something will happen. But I was starting to sort of run out of material. I wasn't having enough matches to get enough of a library built up. So when I went to Chicago, actually, I checked out Pro Wrestling Tees, and I bought a Janela shirt, and I started using it in bits on my video show. And I opened up my
It was
gear
like
bag
popping
one
up out of
day.
nowhere. It was like popping out of
Exactly.
nowhere. And I'm just like,
I would throw it in the trash, and then it would pop up on me the next time, or stuff like that. But in the back of my head, I'm thinking, if Janela says no, what's going to be the payoff for like my audience watching this stuff? And in the back of my mind, it like popped up real quick. And I mean, being around Kenny Omega a little bit, he's done some wacky things.
yeah.
So in the back of my head, I'm like, am I going to have to like wrestle this t-shirt or something? And it's like, no, like obviously something else will pop up. But like weeks started rolling by, and I'm like, I think I have to wrestle this t-shirt. And in my mind, I'm trying to think like, okay, what's that going to look like? How's this going to be believable? Is it going to be funny enough, or is it just going to be this awkward thing I put out that everyone kind of laughs at me about? But finally, I had like this little block of time. I went back to the basement where I backyard wrestled as a kid, which I think is a cool little tidbit. And I started doing this match. And I didn't have the full plan. I didn't know how this thing was going to end, but I started filming. And I mean, that artistic, creative mind of mine got me into a whole lot of trouble. And all of a sudden, I was like, hey, there's a ladder. Let's bring in the ladder. And hey, there's some Legos. Let's pull that. And it turned into this wacky match. And I don't know if it's just because I watch too much wrestling, but as I'm doing some of this, these sound bites from like some of these iconic moments in wrestling are just popping in my head as I'm doing them. And I was like, if I could edit and have like all this infamous commentary from like the best of the best, right? The Bobby Heenans, the JRs, the Gorilla Monsoons.
All the great voices came out.
And yeah, and like, so all of a sudden I realized like, I think I've actually got something here. And I was expecting this match to be like a 3-minute little thing. And it actually turned into like a full length 10-minute match. And I was blown away. And I was started like chirping into my friends like, hey, like, here's a little clip, or like, what do you guys think about this? And they're like, you're nuts. You're just absolutely insane for doing this. But once it came together, and it took a little while, but once I got the commentary full in there and showed it to a few guys, like they were thoroughly impressed. I mean, I impressed myself actually with that. But I wasn't sure about putting it out there still. I wasn't sure what the reaction was going to be from just people in general. But I was blown away at the response that everyone actually loved it as much as I did making it. And it did work a little bit because I think the right people saw it. And not too long after that, I got a couple of DMs from some important people, and things were going to happen. It's just a shame that the whole coronavirus thing.
Don't tease that.
I know.
All right, so what you're telling me is that next year we have to retweet this and bring it up again and make sure this is
I, I
right.
I think I got to think a little bit more outside the box and come up with something new, but we'll see. Maybe there'll be a rematch somewhere down the line.
I would say because I'll travel and support that because I admire a lot of hard work and you put a lot of hard work into that. Like I was
Thanks.
like, man, if he actually gets this far and now that you're like breaking my heart now, I was like, no, yeah, because you just never know until you kind of shoot that shot, you know what I mean? And you shot
Exactly. That's what I say.
yeah, and it's just like that's totally awesome though. But yeah, it was definitely a good bit. I like your like Stanley Kubrick like angles. You were just like on the floor, and I'm just like this guy put so much effort into this.
I like
But
it. Thanks.
yeah, to throw yourself out there though, that is the most vulnerable thing to do. And there's always going to be people that are shady. But then again, what are you doing? You know,
Right. Yeah.
you're trying to do what
100%.
you think is best for yourself. You're having fun doing it, and you're just always going to be an audience that enjoys things like that.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. Another Twitter post that you had was the WrestleMania Fiend and John Cena that like blew up. The reason why I bring that up is because I kind of was like in the same realm of beliefs of the way John Cena's progression storyline with Bray Wyatt was, but it wasn't until you clearly slapped me in the face with all those images and the breakdown that I
Right.
appreciated the storyline behind the Firefly, Funhouse segment that they did, the vignette, and it was definitely a really good vignette that they actually put out. But what made you want to break it down in such like history, like Kenny Omega would be like, actually what had happened was, and then kind of does his spiel. But it was brilliant. Yeah, my husband saw it. I was just like, did you see this? And it was before kind of like he was following you, and he was like, yeah, I just saw this breakdown. I'm like, that's Jay's breakdown. It was amazing.
So, yeah, I don't know. I watched it and I wasn't sure as I was watching it, but by the end, I was just like, that's one of the most like artistic and amazing
It was
things that
deep.
they've thought. So I started asking around a couple of people that I have casual conversations with about wrestling, and they were a little bit confused about it. But the more I explained it, the more they understood. I was
Okay.
like, man, I think I need to do a deep dive on this so more people can actually appreciate the effort and the story behind this thing. So I put it out there. I was screenshotting like crazy and trying to compile all the information to make sure I got it as clear as I could do it without seeming too insane. And
No.
posted the whole thing. And I was up pretty late. Like by the time I finished, it was like 3 in the morning, I think. So when I woke up, I was pretty amazed at the response it got. But it didn't end, and it kept going. And then a day later, it was still going. And all of a sudden, the dirt sheets were covering this,
Yeah.
and like the weirdest headline ever: indie Canadian wrestler Jay Walker posts Firefly. It was like, that's not news. Like, why is this being covered? But I mean, thanks for the attention. Like, it really helped, and a lot of people gave some awesome. Like, they just appreciated it so much to help explain because a lot of people didn't get it. They didn't look that in depth, or they just they're not used to that kind of a format of a story being told to them. And then of all people too, Bray Wyatt to leave a response and give the little wink and nudge, kind of as just a thank you to help bring awareness to the match. That was crazy too. It was just one of those things, like you said earlier, shoot your shot. You just never know what's gonna work out for you in the end.
Yeah, that was definitely insane. And yeah, because when I liked it, I woke up and I was seeing, like you said, other people retweeting it, but it was like wrestling blogs and article writers, and I'm just all like, wait, did nobody really think about the story? Like I knew it, but the way you put it out was so clear and so
Right.
concise. It made it sense to anybody. I mean, because at first
Right.
you look at it not being a fan, you're like, is this the history of wrestling going through like different time periods and eras?
Mhm.
But it was so deep on John Cena's level and his character development. And then when you brought it up, I was just like, it was spot on. So well done with that. That was a lot of homework done.
Yeah, no kidding.
And
I'm
as
a
a
big
librarian,
storytelling geek, so.
yeah, as a librarian, I'm like, he researched this. I respect that. So yeah, just a couple of last fun questions. Is there a wrestler that you haven't met yet that you would like to meet?
To meet.
Yeah, just to kind of just hang out, get some lunch, watch a movie, just be like, yeah, I'm friends with this guy. He's totally cool.
Uh, like there's so many I would love to sit there for hours and pick their brains, like Undertaker and Mick Foley, and even Dusty Rhodes come to mind.
Yeah.
Uh, Cody, I feel too, would be another guy. We're just like I think we have a very similar mindset. Hey,
Mhm.
Kat. um, uh, There's so, even like Joey Janela, I would love to just meet up and pick his brain, because he's got a very different mindset, and
Oh, yeah.
that's what kind of what gravitated to me to him. We seem very kindred in how we put together matches to try to create unique experiences for the fans that are there in attendance,
Mhm.
and I would just love to have a chat about that kind of stuff, you
Yeah, that Joey Janela zone that he has going on, he's crazy.
know.
It's some of the weirdest things I've seen on Instagram.
You know,
Um,
kidding.
a dream match. If you had a chance to wrestle anybody past or present, who would you have liked to wrestle?
I mean, there's a million I could say, but the one that at the top of my list that is somewhat believable and possible has been one that's been on my list ever since I was a kid, and now that he's with AEW and we're both from around the same area, me and Chris Jericho in some form or fashion, I think would be amazing.
That would be crazy. Yeah, that would be nice. I mean, he's done a lot for indies, like just giving people just a spotlight and things like that. Yeah, that's definitely, when I saw like we were at, I was like, huh, I wonder what the answer to this would be. 'Cause
Yeah, yeah.
that would be my answer. I kind of love Chris Jericho too. Um, do you ever think about wrestling in the States? Is there any like promotion that you would like to kind of just like, dip your feet in and not really stick with them, but kind of like just come out here and see the States and kind of see what's out here for you?
I would love to. It's so hard to make a name for yourself as an independent wrestler just because there's so many of us. Um, I mean, there's ones definitely I would love to check out. GCW, of course, is a really hot one right now. Uh, AIW in Cleveland,
Okay.
and PWG, of course, would be another awesome bucket list one to hit. There's so many though, but getting to the States obviously would be huge for my career, because there's not a whole lot of options as far as my location for different promotions to go out and chase and get dates for.
Okay, definitely. Yeah, definitely like to see you come out here. Just for a couple, if you could. Freelance wrestling maybe in Chicago. I'm just saying. So
Let's
some
hook it
people,
up.
you know.
Yeah.
um, so lastly, cut a promo. What do you want people to come out and see you if they're in Canada, if they could see something on YouTube? What would you like attract people to come see you? What do you bring that's different?
Uh, I think that I am one of the most dedicated and passionate when it comes to the audience's experience. And I said that before, but I really do mean it. I'm not there to show how flashy my moveset is. I'm there to tell you a story, and it's going to be different than anything else you've seen in a single night of pro wrestling. I believe that my character, as you'll notice, whether I'm a bad guy or a good guy, is probably the most dynamic and inclusive as far as making you guys a part of the show. But I think that's very transparent through any of my content I make, whether it's tweets or videos or podcasts, wherever it is, I give my full, and I pay attention to you guys, because without the fans, uh, there really is no wrestling. There's no excitement behind wrestling to me. And I lost my train of thought there. But it's just the relationships that we make with people, and like I don't even view fans as fans. Like I don't look down to you. We're equals. We all enjoy pro wrestling, and so I want to do my best to make sure that you guys are having the best time with me, rather than the other way around that's perceived by some. I just think that indie wrestling too. We were talking about this earlier, is so much more fun, so much more intimate than anything you see on TV, and uh, like I said, I just try to double down on that environment and make sure that whether it's your first time or your 100th time, you have the best time.
Yeah, definitely. I can't express that enough. And to support indie wrestlers, they definitely wear their hearts out on their sleeves all the time when they go out there. It's the best promotions. It feels like family when you go to indie like wrestling shows in your community. The wrestlers will remember you. They take the time out to see you. Um, but thank you so much, Jay, for doing this with me today. We're gonna make sure we tag your Pro Wrestling Tee shop, your YouTube channel, your Twitter handle. Make sure everything. Yep, you can get that shirt on Pro Wrestling Tees. We're definitely a big fans of Pro Wrestling Tees. But yeah, thank you so much for taking time out to do this.
No, this was awesome. I'm glad to have chatted with you. Hopefully we'll do it again sometime too.
Yeah, maybe in person next time.
Right on. Yeah, let's do it.
All right, everybody, thank you. Take care, stay safe, and we hope to see everybody really soon in person. Until then, next time. All right.